So, what limits a church from reaching their community? What are the 5 things that can really be restrictive? Well, I think the first one is a culture disconnect. And I've got a Mercedes car. Why on earth, John, have you got a picture of a Mercedes car? What's that got to do with culture? Well, if your car park is filled with Mercedes Benz, Lexus, Audis, Porsches, BMWs, and everyone in the suburbs around you are driving 25-year-old Honda Accords or Hyundais or a 30-year-old Kia, if Kias are 30 years old, then you have a culture disconnect. In other words, the demographic of your church is markedly different to the demographic in your area. And I think if you're going to grow a church, there has to be a connection where people walk into the church and go, oh, this church is kind of like me. I can see someone like me in this church, someone who connects to me. And so it's thinking strategically about the demographic of your church and endeavoring to reach a similar demographic. Now, of course, you're going to get people, if you've got a church full of Mercedes-Benz and BMWs and Lexus cars, of course, people with a Hyundai, Kia, and Honda Accords can come. Of course they can. We're not trying to limit that or restrict that. We just need to be alert to the fact that there can be a culture disconnect with the people who are in our church to the ones that we're reaching. An inward focus, where when a church gets too much like a country club, rather than being a people on a mission, when it's more concerned about the programs that we have for our teenage kids, for our school-age children, for our young adults who are kind of blossoming into adulthood, when we're more focused on those things than we are on reaching the community with the gospel, it will stifle growth. It'll stop you connecting with your community. When all your energy, and dare I say it, all of your budget is spent on your church. If you spend every single dollar in your budget on your church and its programs, then that's an inwardly focused church. If you don't have any line in your budget for community outreach, community connection, community support, some ways of engaging with your community in a healthy way, then you're actually an inward focused church. And that will stop you reaching your community, because it'll just be part of who you are. We're here serving ourselves rather than our community. And it is death to a church in the long run. Barriers to involvement. I remember going to a mega church here in Australia, large church, and talking with one of their pastors, and they told me a fascinating thing about new people, that if a new person did not join a small group or start on a serving team within 12 months of coming to the church, 93% of those new people would not last the whole year. 93% would be gone within 12 months if they didn't get involved in a small group or in a serving team. And what's the unique thing about groups and teams compared to attendance on Sundays? Well, in groups and in teams, you end up in a circle. You end up seeing people face to face. On Sunday in rows, you see the back of someone's head. And you can go to a medium-sized church, let alone a large church, for weeks. Look at the back of someone's head and never engage with someone in a meaningful conversation, in a discipleship moment with someone. So you have to lower the barriers to involvement, to getting people into a group, to getting people serving, to getting people connected into circles of relationship.